Broadcasting from Lake Norman in Davidson, while serving all of North and South Carolina to the Florida coast and the Tennessee mountains, they are the Mortgage Planners, the Carolina's #1 real estate and mortgage radio. A premium lending experience with a planning approach that focuses on building wealth. Ranked top in the nation for over 3 generations, with well over $1 billion in closed mortgages and 3-time best-selling author. Here are your hosts, Brad and Jacob Roche.
Welcome to The Plan. This is Brad Roche, the Mortgage Planner, joined with Jacob Roche. Good morning, good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well.
Welcome
Glad to be here.
The Plan. We are back on The Plan, and it is cold outside, baby.
Yeah, it is. It is.
In case you were
Keep
wondering
the
how I'm
snow
feeling.
away. We moved from the north for a reason. No snow.
and I heard on the intro, Florida, it's like, yeah, buddy, we're licensed there. I need to go get us something down there.
Yeah, right.
Keep a little warmer. But welcome to The Plan, first-time visitors. We talk about real estate, your money, and mortgages. And if you've joined us before, welcome back. We got a full show for you. We did some interesting studies on the market and want to share it as we go into the new year. If you missed our last show, we had a great conversation on some of the pitfalls, stories that, I try to avoid doing it right the first time. And some of the ads that are out there, I want to talk about that. We had a client look up a program. We won't mention the lender. I'm winking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't us. But the client had found a program. I won't even mention the program or the amount, but it was an incentive to purchase a home.
Yeah. Big incentive. Not through a builder either.
No, it was like $5,000-$10,000 from the lender.
Yeah.
And, we don't know every program that's out there.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of good, traditional, established first-time home buyer incentives and programs. And one of the things we did when he let us know he was going to be getting this special loan was we said, well, understand, and we had already looked at his application. This is another story for the books here. And we looked at his application and had him approved. And we said, we can you send us your loan estimate? We want to take a look at the credit you're getting. That sounds crazy. Like we have a lot of programs. So he sends it over to you.
Yeah.
And you noticed a big thing on there.
No credits at all.
The major part of the deal was there is no credit, man.
Yeah.
Hey, we got your quote. It looks that actually it was $3,000 higher than ours.
Yeah.
But he was told that he'll be submitted and hopefully approved for a $10,000, $12,000, $9,000. Don't remember the amount exactly. And I'm leaving it a little vague for the product and program, but $10,000 grant. $12,000 grant. Hey, we'll get you approved sooner or later. They didn't have it on the writing. They didn't have it anywhere for him to be able to make a decision. Then what'd we do?
What did we do?
Yeah.
We did some research on there.
Yeah, I want to look at what this sucker, what is this, man?
Yeah, we looked at the program. Not too many great reviews online about it, but I had been in touch with them this week, actually, and they had said that that once they're able to get out of underwriting, there's another product that has a more attractive rate. So kind of confusing there. So they didn't put any credits on the first loan estimate, but they're going to check it out in my understanding.
It's very loose and over-promising and switching.
But and it sounds like a different product from what they were initially quoted. It's not just here's your product and you're going to get a 10 grand credit or whatever credit they get. It's a it's an entirely different product from my understanding.
I can't say what it is on the air.
Well,
it sounds like it.
The realtor had told me it
smells
has a more attractive rate than the other credit. So
$10,000. What was the loan amount again? Do you remember?
$250.
$10,000 on $250,000 loan as a credit is substantial. Substantial if you take it from a monthly savings standpoint. Meaning that if I ran numbers and I was going to say, okay, for a $250,000 loan, if I drop a half a point, I save $200.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say they gave him a full point better. Nasty good rate, right?
Yeah.
For just kind of the kindness of their heart, and he qualifies because he's just special. First time home buyer, you get the whole kit and caboodle. I'm exaggerating because I think they're offering too much. They're saying too much without having it approved. But $500 a month, $10,000 is over 2 years of money that he won't be able to get that back. I'm rounding off, but it's about 2 years that he'll have to sit tight on that gorgeous rate he paid so much to get instead of an actual return towards closing costs. But then on the other hand, I'll complain about the other program. And I'm not just salty because we don't have the deal right now. Because what happened is because he was referred, we're still consulting him through to make sure he's being taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. Still working through a plan.
And it's rough when the information coming is so vague, not from the client, but what we're asking to ask and get. Because if he's getting a $10,000 credit, man, take it. I think there are some maybe golden. What do you call that? Cinderella put her foot in.
Oh, glass shoe.
I think there are a couple of them, but I just don't think it's that common. And when you looked at the reviews, they were bad.
Yeah.
In fact, it said the same thing you just said. You do realize that. I remember one of the reviews you had read was, well, they offered me $10,000 or whatever the credit was. And then a week before closing, I was switched into another program at a higher rate.
Yep, different interest
and
rate.
now they're changing this guy's program as well. And what stinks is that if you get a $10,000 credit on a $250,000 house, do you know how much closing costs they're charging you?
Yeah, it's a lot in closing costs.
Right. So I'm not sure. You got to look at, just because I say credit, like if I gave you, here's a great example, make it simple. If I said, listen, I got this Coca-Cola here, this brand new Coca-Cola, it's a 2-liter.
Yeah.
Big one. Big 2-liter. I got it. It's cold too. Listen, I got it discounted, 40% off, and I'll give you $1 when you buy it as a rebate. So you're getting all kinds of incentives for buying this Coca-Cola. Now this 2 liters, $7.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say it's $15. You don't want to buy that. See, my point, okay, maybe it's a weird analogy, but my point is if the price is so much higher than the incentive is offsetting, it's stupid.
Well, you start asking questions why. Client is putting a substantial amount of money down, 40% actually.
Yeah, why does he qualify for that and Aunt Betty next door doesn't?
Yeah. So putting 40% down, an additional $10,000 towards what?
Yeah, that you don't. Why do you have that much cost involved? Well, I think that makes it tough to see the builders. Some of the builders do this as well, and I'm not breaking on builders. I love new construction. I've done it for years. But when you offer a $10,000 incentive to buy the home through the lender, and you come in as the buyer and say, I want to pay cash. I'm a cash buyer. And they just say, you don't get any of that $10,000. You're not using our lender. And then they just say, we don't even get it off the price.
Yeah.
Where is that coming from the lending side? How are we working those numbers? And it's not good transparency is my point.
Yeah, it can be really confusing.
I've worked with builders. I was going to say I worked with builders, but it was no skin out of my pocket as the lender.
Yeah.
So it was a true, like when they paid $4,500, man, I was able to use that to give them a kick-ass deal.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, is that part of what's going on? Maybe, I don't know. But I do think that from transparency in credit should be more clear.
Yeah.
I guess that's what transparency
I agree.
is.
I think it can get really confusing when you get into the weeds of things.
Well, and then if you're paying so much, like his rate was the same, then when they apply this $10,000, what's it going to give him? Because he didn't have that much in closing costs. The seller was already paying $6,000. So that means he would add $16,000 in closing costs, but he's at the same rate we are.
Yeah.
That we don't have that much in closing costs. Well, you got an incentive for what? I don't need it. He should be getting 6%, 6.375, a lot lower rate. And that isn't the case.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes in.
Incentive BS.
Yeah.
We got to take a break. Let me go cool off and relax. But watch your quotes as first-time home buyers getting into the market. Lots of programs out there. Put the apple next to the apple. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to The Plan. This is your co-host, Jacob Roche, the mortgage planner, here in the studio with Brad Roche. We pulled some pretty crazy statistics, in my opinion, on where rates are at and who has what, essentially.
We've talked a lot around it on the show about, half the planet being around 3%, but we got the specifics for you that we've researched and found it interesting. And then I'll share with you what my solution would be to help the market out in that idea. But start with people that are under 3%.
Okay.
3% of the people are at 22.6 of the U.S. mortgages recorded.
So about 1/4.
Yeah, almost a fourth. And we're going to have this pie chart up for you at fortheplan.com for you nerds who want to check it out a little bit more in detail. But now here's what's interesting, though. We go to 3, so under 3%. I don't care if it's 15-year, 30-year, under 3% financing fixed. 22.6%, almost a quarter of the mortgages recorded. Between 3 and 5%, big number.
Yeah. 56.1.
56.1 on that, which now this is where it kind of gets interesting between those two categories, right? And looking at that, you're saying we have under 3%, 22.6%, between 3 to 5%, 56%. You combine them. So who is under 5% fixed rate mortgages? It's 78.7%.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
It really is. And that I think that comes to the inventory issue, and
Sure it
why
does.
nobody wants to move. If I was at under a 3, which is
It's
a
hard.
fourth of America, well, even call under 5, I probably still wouldn't want to trade my 5 for a 7.
Yeah.
I would
the
think
point.
about it though. If I was at a 5, moving to a 7, I would think about it.
Well,
if
I think
really
that's
wanted to
where you
move.
got part of the market. You got 56% of people that might be between that. Where the closer you get to 4 or 3, the less likely you are
Yeah.
because your houses are more expensive. So some of the stats we'll share with you today, with appreciation still looking to go on the rise. Well, are the rates so far? Mortgage rates have been up. Can you pull our current rates so we can put those on the air for you guys, at least what the averages have been over the last couple weeks of what mortgages have been doing? We'll share with you our 30-year fix. Jacob has that pulled up on the dial. You can go to fortheplan.com, check them out as well.
Yeah, it's right under our market tab, and this is where I like to look at rates. There's a lot that you can get out there. You can probably see anywhere from about 6.5 to 7.5 right now if you look up interest
These are
rates.
the averages.
Yeah, these are on average closing loans. So average rates, 30-year fix is 7.26 to be exact. So 7.25. 15 years at 6.59, and then FHA is at 6.57.
Now, what are they showing as an adjustable rate?
An adjustable rate is at 7.13.
And that's on a 5-year or 7-year?
A 5-year on.
5 years at 7 1/8.
Yep.
30 years at 7 1/4. Here's what my solution. If you want to know, right? Here's what I do, right?
Yeah, I agree with it.
They got to come out with some really good 5 to 7 year programs.
Yeah.
That would really help people make that move from the 3, 4, 5% interest rate to a 5.5, 5-1 arm.
Yeah.
5.5, 6%. Well, see, now you're getting a little too high, like on the 7-year. But when rates, as an example, were just at 6 1/4 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, that would put, traditionally, or I don't even know if I'd say traditionally, but it should make the arm a 1.5 lower, roughly.
Yeah.
It's not there. It hasn't been for years. A lot of the adjustable rates, short-term money, just isn't as attractive as the 30-year money in comparison. So why would I drop 1/8 in the rate, like 7.1, for a 5-year deal when I can get 7.2 and it don't change forever?
Yeah.
It's not worth the risk. Now, if I changed it and I said, look, 7.1 or 7.2 rather for the 30-year money, but I can get you 5 1/4 for first 5 years.
Yeah, I would do that all day. I think a lot of people would.
I think that's what would move the market, but that product is not out there. Now, they do have it somewhat, the tricky roundabout way with our 2-1 buy down and 3-1, but you got to put a lot of seller money on the table.
Yeah.
A lot.
There's a lot of seller negotiation that needs to happen in order to get that. I agree with you.
And they're priced at a premium. It's not a traditional pricing that we look up for a 30-year fixed FHA
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
true.
The pricing is higher for that product. It's a specialty product. They charge more.
Yeah, a little bit more for it.
I'd say 1/4 to a 1/2 point more in cost. Somehow you shake that out.
I
Half
agree.
a point.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it is.
not a 1/2 point in rate, but whether it's point or reflective in the interest rate, which like a 1/2 point in closing costs or points would equal to about 1/8 to 1/4 in rate.
I was going to say about 1/8 in rate. Yeah.
So, but that can be significant. So you do pay a premium, but if I'm at 7 1/4 with a premium, I'm at 7 1/2, give or take, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm going down to 5 1/4 the first year. I guess you are on the 2-1 buy down. That would be the most comparison. Here's the problem. It's only 2 years.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
It is.
It goes by so dang fast that 2 years isn't long enough, and 5 years is just long enough because the average American moves every 7.
Yeah.
So it would bring a lot of comfort to the market to have a good 5-year fixed.
I think that would be people willing to move at that point.
I would. You would too.
Yeah, I would
because
too.
even the people who are sitting at a 3 to go to 5 isn't so terrible.
Yeah. I need to find a happy medium.
But I'll be dang if I'm going to double it 1.5 times it. That's like a good Vegas bet. FanDuel,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is.
like where it's paying 200%. Like that's what you do if you're moving from 3 to 6,
Yeah.
3 to 7, man. That's like, you look at the odds on that. You take that bet all day.
Yeah,
That's
you're right.
crazy.
And so you're,
So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you absolutely are right. Well, where you're going with it is that you would do arms instead.
Well, I just think that if someone could Band-Aid a 5-year period,
Yeah.
like I think arms didn't always used to be so ugly for lenders in general. And I think they've just gotten away from how they're priced.
Yeah.
I don't have the backstory. I guess I could find out why on earth is a 5-year deal an eighth lower than a 30-year deal. That's stupid.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And those are national averages. This isn't coming from us. That is just what it is. And it's like, well, if you're going to take that risk as the consumer, why wouldn't you get a benefit of that?
Yeah, true.
Like
Risk to reward.
Yeah,
a
like
little bit more.
5.5. I think it would be 5. That's what I said, about a 1.5. So if I'm at 7.25, we drop down to maybe 6 point. No, it'd be lower than that. 5.75.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice arm. But see, there's a difference there between the buy down. The buy down, you're at 5, then you go to 6, then you go to 7, right? And it's 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. 5-year, look, I'm staying the same for 5 years. Imagine, put yourself in that same scenario, you buying your house, and I drop your rate 2%, even though you're on a 5-year, 1.5%. What rate are you at now?
6.125.
6.125. I drop you a 1.5. That puts you at 4.5.
4.5. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Right. For 5 years, that's better than any buy down if it were not expensive, because people know you're going to roll out of that to a fixed rate loan later.
Yeah.
That's the intention of a buy down, temporary buy down, and the arm rate.
I think it would soften up the market a lot, and especially get properties moving again.
Put me in charge, buddy.
Yeah,
I'll tell
right.
them how to fix that. I don't know why they don't offer them as often, but if it was, the 1.5 to 2 points lower, that's where it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
That's where the reward has to be there. Like that, you'd be a moron to say, give me an eighth better. Oh my gosh, you just risked 25 years. Why would you do that?
Yeah, true.
I don't know where it's going to be in 25 years.
Yeah, 5.
Let alone,
yeah.
We thought it'd be down by now.
Yeah.
So did everybody else.
It's been 2 years, I think.
704-412-2727 is your dial to the show to ask questions, or you can go to fortheplan.com. That's the number for the plan. We are in the Lake Norman area, offices in Davidson, North Carolina, serving the surrounding areas, also doing a lot of second homes in Tennessee, South Carolina, and the Florida coast. So if we can help you with that along your journey, please tell your friends, family, coworkers where we might be able to assist, and we'd love to be a part of it. So all of our business, if not 95%, is referred in. So we appreciate all the supporters out there. We do this as content for our past clients and our sphere that can include them in us to be able to help their business grow, as well as bring some knowledge to people buying a house. And that brings up Mortgage Planner University.
Yeah, 6 hours of recorded education, I would call it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's a course that you can take 1 hour a week, isn't it?
We
Or just
email it out.
under.
Yeah, you sign up. We're going to give you all 6 videos.
Yeah.
There's a whole page on the site that you get as a course with downloads, handouts. We have included, remember, we did a lot of case studies. If you bought a house a year ago at this rate and bought it and sold it, what would you be at? And so we have case studies included, charts included, budgeting included. We hit the whole gamut from 1 hour to 6 hours total. But like you said, you'll get it all at once, or we'll email you one every week. You'll get that as well.
The big kicker is that you get closing costs off when you complete it.
$500.
Yep.
We pay you because you're smarter.
Yep,
We're
exactly.
like, hey, you don't have to ask me questions. We'll give you $500. Save us some time.
Chances are you know a lot and you'll get a better deal too.
I think that's a big part of being in the business right now, mortgage-wise or real estate-wise, being educated with all the programs that are out there, because you can make moves that save you or cost you thousands. And I'm worried about the guy we talked about in the first segment. I am. I think he's going down a rabbit trail, and he's going to end up saying, crap, I got to close. It's going to be in a week.
Yeah.
And they'll say, okay, now keep it in mind, we even waived his appraisal.
Yeah.
Because of his down payment. We have appraisal waiver for that.
Yeah. Could have been a really good deal.
Well, we're still going to keep an eye on it. We'll keep you guys up to date. Hopefully it ends well. And if he's listening to the show, reach out. We'll watch it for you. We've been keeping track of him. I didn't know you spoke with him just over the last couple of days again, helping him out. But hopefully it comes to a good resolution. We've got him in the back to help him out if it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was looking. I want to go back to rates under 5. So that's 78.7% of the U.S. right now. So really, while me and you were talking, you wouldn't move if you were under 3. So if somebody's not willing to move under 5, that's about 3/4 of the market's not willing to move.
Yeah.
And chances are that this other 22% that's not under 5 is probably just bought their house within the past couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree.
So my point being is that no wonder why inventory is lower than usual.
But they're also predicting for 2025 to be a growth year.
Yeah.
in real estate in general. I also, maybe you've heard this before or not, but with rates right now at 7.27, 30-year fixed, or 7.26, that is above the 30-year average. Like I was running numbers as well, like, hey, we got all these who's at what rate and stuff, but rates have been between 6 and 7% over the last 30 years. That has been the average, all the way from the down lows of 3 to 18 highs. The average has been right almost where we're at right now. We're just on the cusp of being a little bit higher than the average.
Yeah.
So you figure now I will tell you that it's harder qualifying for what people have been wanting.
I was going to say rates are on average. The home prices is really where we're seeing a big jump.
Well, we got to figure it out and make sure that we know exactly how to take care of you. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with the plan. Welcome back to The Plan. This is Brad Roche, the Mortgage Planner, joined with Jacob Roche, the Mortgage Planner, for theplan.com, 704-412-2727. Sales activity. Housing experts expect both buyers and sellers to be more active in 2025, leading to an increase in home sales activity. Home prices, Zillow forecasts 2.6% growth in home prices for 2025, with a 4.3 million existing home sales sold expected. Inventory levels, improving inventory levels are expected to contribute to a more favorable housing market and outlook in 2025. Now, the last one. So all of that, better.
Yeah.
And I just told you where everybody's rate's at. So it's going to take some time for people to move. And now you go inventory levels, but you also look at foreclosures. Not a big market of foreclosures on the market right as of now, like it used to be back in some of the other slower markets like 08, 09.
Yeah. And one stat that I read said it was because of homeowners' equity cushions.
Yeah, it's harder to walk away from that much money.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I could definitely understand that.
Yeah, so the mortgage process changed, back 10, 15 years ago, where people have to put more down than they were back then. You could do a lot of zero down loans in 2007s before.
Yeah.
And you could have crappy credit, 580 zero down, and we'd give you a 10% rate. Those loans were out there, and they were fixed for 2 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But see, that's not a lot of what you see now. Like we had talked a little bit about doing this for a while. I always tell you that I've been doing this 30 years. You hear me talk about it because I compare it to a lot of what we used to see, and this business has changed so much that like on subprime or your DSCR, where there are mortgages that are rental properties based on their cash flow, you don't even need a job to get those. They also have a no ratio loan, right? Where you don't have to have a job. You can just put no income down and they give you a loan as well with 20% down, and they charge you a lot of fees and the rate's higher. Okay. All those risks. We had similar programs back then that were very identical to them. We didn't have what we had a lot more of was zero down, which we don't. We have a zero down programs, but they were subprime. So that meant that the credit score could go in the 600 and still do zero down.
Oh, wow.
With no PMI. So the rate was higher. But here's what's interesting. All the loans that you look at today in subprime market, which no ratio, bank statement programs instead of tax returns, DSCR instead of full tax returns to buy an investment property. All of those loans that you look at are all based on, at least I'm going to say it this way, there's no benefit to take any other product or term besides 30-year.
Yeah.
Like I've seen a couple of them where they're 5 years or 7, their rates aren't any better. Now, interesting enough, back 20 years ago, subprime market was full of less down payment. I've mentioned that. But also had 2-year program where it was fixed for 2 years. You got a prepayment for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Well, that just set you up to take advantage of the borrower, because after the second year, you knew the rate was going to be moving, but you also knew you had a prepay, so you were caught in a hot spot.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, to get out of it, you just ride that 1 year, pay the prepay. But the prepay was only 1%.
Oh.
So if you owed $250,000, it'd be a $2,500 prepayment penalty. Now the loan prepayment's just 5 months interest.
Yeah. Oh, 5% fixed.
5% of the balance. 5% of the balance. So that's a lot more penalty to get out of the loan early, and no adjustable 2-year or 3-year arms like they had before.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot different.
Well, I'm wondering if it's like they went away from arms nowadays, I would say, because of that, because of the past that's happened of in that spot. I mean, prepayment penalties are illegal now from all across the nation. Personal wise, for the consumer, business loan, you can do it all day.
Which is your DSCR.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does. When you do the full segments together, it does make more sense.
Well, even like we've seen on our jumbo products, those arms actually do look okay.
Better.
Yeah, better, which is also non-conforming again.
But also your conforming, which is your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans, they're not better on.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I just find it, you may be right, though, that you see, I kind of painted the picture of prior markets was 2-year fixed, 3-year prepayment penalty. So for 2 years, you're fixed, but then it goes up or down, usually up.
Yeah.
And the payment penalty was in place as well. So you're getting smacked on the way out no matter what, typically on that loan.
Oh, wow.
And maybe see, a lot of it was I didn't know my rate was going to change. That was the storyline back then.
Yeah.
I didn't know my rate was going to change. Well, a lot of people knew they got a 2-year. They didn't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and stuff, you should pay attention to what you sign.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
big
not
deal.
speaking from just mortgages. I'm saying in general, anything you signed, come on, look at what you're signing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's important.
I agree with that. Well, I was looking at the home prices. You had mentioned earlier that Zillow is forecasting a 2.6% growth in home prices.
Yeah.
Is that nationwide? I didn't pull
Yes.
this. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nationwide 2.6.
Around the Charlotte market, we might see a little bit different heat. They're saying that there's the U-Haul stats and other stats that I've seen that are coming over that
You love that stat.
Yeah, I do.
Share that for somebody listening. It was on last, so maybe
It was North and South Carolina were number 1 and 3 for U-Haul tracking over 2024 on where people are moving to. So all these stats are where are people dropping off the U-Hauls.
And they're all coming to the Carolinas.
All to the South, it seemed like. North and South Carolina, Texas, Florida, and Tennessee.
Man, if you're on 77 now listening to our show, it's just making you more mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is, because that's been packed up. I noticed on the way in today, you almost have to check traffic, make sure there's no accidents backing up, because 77's been getting so busy.
You're right. And and then that brings me to improving inventory levels. I mean, is it because people are expecting rates to come down, therefore they expect inventories to rise?
You would think so, but see, the Fed is coming out saying they're not lowering them much anymore, and we've only seen increases since they've been moving them up.
They've backtracked.
Like this morning, I pulled. Remember, we're talking about the guy. Let's bring that story together, because that's a real. You can debate it, and I believe my debate was better than what we were challenging it with, and we wanted to do the right thing for the client. He bought a house a while back.
It was 1 year ago in December, actually.
And he bought it DSCR, right?
Yep. And
about $350 loan amount.
Yep, it was
$350,000 loan DSCR. So he did it based on the rental income coming in.
So he went under contract. We sent out an appraiser. The appraiser came back and said this is going to rent for $1,300 a month,
which was way off.
Yeah, which is there's no way that you're going to rent that for little to nothing right 1 block away from the coast. It's just not probable. So even $2,000, I'll move out there if it's $1,300.
He agreed with you though.
Yeah.
And then bought it anyway. But we took him on the I say we took him, but he got a worse rate.
Yeah. And
we don't get paid any extra the rate they get, but he got taken on the rate for a ride because it didn't qualify for any of the debt ratio service for DSCR.
Yeah, so his DSCR ratio came in at 0.38.
Explain how that works, because people listening, like I know it's kind of even hard to explain it, but it's 1-to-1 ratio is what we're looking for.
It covers best way I would say it is a 0.38 covers 38% of the mortgage.
Yeah, it's not a lot. That's a great way to say it. Great. I was thinking we were going to go down a rabbit trail, but that's a great way to say it. So it's 38% of his mortgage payment. We're looking for it to be 100.
Yeah, if it's over 100, he'll get the best term. So this actually was below the 0.7. We can get an okay rate if it's at 0.7, but this is DSCR no ratio. So now we're not even looking at this 0.38 anymore.
Still can do it, but who cares? Yeah. And his rate was 10.
Yeah, his rate was 10.5. So that's why it was. It definitely didn't help. So now
I remember you on that when we were closing that a year ago. You said this is crazy. He's definitely going to make more on that.
Yeah.
And he decided to do short-term rental. Yeah. Being so close to the coast, and he's killed it.
Yeah, he's done a
really good job.
Great job since. And then we actually just got an appraisal back, and the appraiser this time said that it rents for $2,400 a month.
Different guy.
Yep.
Still low because he wanted to get this turned back down, and now we're going to save the next part of this, because this is where it becomes a little tricky on buying in DSCR. And I want to talk a little bit more about this 38%. I want to talk about your debt service, what it needs to come in at. And I want to talk about the perfect deal, because there are a lot of these transactions, DSCR, that come in just fine.
Yeah.
They're really good and they work really well. But then there's some of them that got some hair on it. And there's ways around it, just like this guy got around it. He's still going to have a great deal. But I want to talk to you about the baby steps we're doing for him on this next transaction because he hasn't owned it quite a year yet.
Yep.
And his cash flow, even though he's cooking on the short-term rental, we have to have 1 year of history in order to count that, which would crush his debt ratio or his service debt ratio, the DSCR ratio. So with that, we should we leave him at 10.5?
Wait until March?
Yeah, right. Or wait till March, or we have another plan that we were able to come back with. And I think that's where the big clue comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll come back here in just a couple minutes.
Take a break. 704-412-2727. Go to fortheplan.com. We'll show you what we did for him, and it's coming out great. Baby steps. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to The Plan. This is your co-host, Jacob Roche, for theplan.com, or you can check out call 704-412-2727. Well, I want to go back in.
You knew I used to have it where if you punched in our phone number, it'd pull up our website.
Oh, really?
I thought that was a trend that was going to take off. It went nowhere.
Oh, yeah. That's unfortunate. That's a good idea, though. I didn't think about that.
I think you actually still can go 855-fortheplan.com.
Really?
Don't do it. Just go to fortheplan.com.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, DSCR in it. This guy had a loaded story, I think, as he came in because he was willing to take this 10.5. Did you think at the time he took the 10.5 he was nuts?
Yeah, it made me a little worried, for sure.
Just because it was so high a payment.
Yeah. But he was very confident in the data that he pulled and what he think that property could do if he was to rehab it or renovate it a little bit. So he did. He renovated it right after he bought. So January, February, and then March, he started a short-term rent.
I see.
So he comes back to us and he says, I'm ready to refinance. And I said, well, I need a full 12 months Airbnb statement so they can do an average.
And get this ratio high where you want it, which gets him a great deal.
Yeah, over what the estimated payment is. It's right around $3,000. So yeah, anything over $3,000 that their appraiser comes back with is perfect. Well,
not what we got.
He came back at $2,400. So what I had said is, I let him know that this is how we were going to play this is. We'll go get the appraiser out there. The appraiser will come back and say, here's the value of the home, which also came in low, which is okay. It still makes it work. His number's
still great.
Yeah, it's still perfect.
It came in lower than he anticipated, but he's doing no cash out, so it didn't matter, and he actually came in 5% better than what we needed.
Perfect, actually. Yeah, you're right. So his two options were, let's see where this DSCR ratio will come back at with the appraiser going out. Again, he said $2,400 in rent, payments about $3,000, give or take. So that puts his DSCR ratio at 0.8. So not
under the 1-to-1 ratio.
It's right in between 0.7 to 0.99. That's not, you want it over 1 to get the best rate.
So if you're listening, it's that $3,000 a month mortgage payment, tax, insurance, HOA, everything included. You want to be about 100% of that for your rent. So if you pay $3,000 total all in for your mortgage payment on a rental property and you're looking at the DSCR loan, the goal is to get $3,000 a month in rent or higher.
Yeah.
So it's 1-to-1, 100% coverage.
And we did our due diligence. We sent in all the Airbnb statements year to date to the appraiser to make sure that he saw those and what he's currently doing with the property. So again, the next step is
But now, so let's pause there because he actually, from the first appraisal, it was $1,400 in rent.
Yeah.
A year ago.
Yeah.
You sent in these Airbnbs, and now this is a different appraiser. He's up $1,000 in cash flow. So it did work.
Yeah, it is a lot better.
It just ain't enough still.
Yeah, still just not enough. But he had two options to go with this, where his DSCR ratio is at 0.8, or we could wait until March, where he's got 12 months Airbnb statements. They will put that'll put his DSCR ratio over 1 now that they don't have to use this 1007.
So now here, 1007 being the appraiser's number.
Yeah, the appraiser's 2,400 in rent.
So here's the big question. He's at 10.5 today. 2 months from now, maybe 3, we could offer him a 7.375.
Yep.
That's what he'd currently be at if it was today, 2 months, 3 months from now.
With a 3-year prepayment penalty.
3-year prepayment penalty. Or That's option one. So
Yeah.
he's got to wait, and you have to cross your fingers that rates don't move up.
And that Airbnb statements do come back cash flowing on the
And
property
enough
too.
to be 1-to-1 ratio or greater.
Yeah.
Right. So there's some risk there is my point. We don't know what the market's doing. It's supposed to have gone down. It's only gone up. The rent ratio, even though he Airbnb'd it, might come in at 29. It's still in that gap that we're talking about at 80% or 0.8%. It's not covering it full. Option B would be to take a 1-year prepayment penalty.
8% interest rate.
Comes in with a higher rate. Yeah, it comes in with
Yep.
a higher rate because of that. That's at his lower debt service ratio on the rental.
Yep.
At this 0.8, same thing. And he saves $475 today. His break-even point, so I take all of his closing costs, including any points, which was about $9,000, $8,500, divided into his $457 per month savings. Follow me? So he's saving by doing this. He's going from 10.5 down to 8. He's going to save $457 per month. I take that times 12, right? Or what I really want to do is I want to take the total closing cost, that $8,500, how it cost him to get there, and divide this 457 into it.
Yeah.
And that was 18 months.
That's his break-even point where he's not losing any money.
Yeah, and that's what we covered on Mortgage Planner University for a good portion of one of the hours that we spent it on, because break even is the decision.
Yeah.
That is it. There isn't any more. Like you can go on, but listen, he could say, no, I don't. I want to wait and risk it until March. And that was what we were thinking of. Hey, maybe March until we priced out a 1-year prepay. And
Yeah.
said, okay, that's not so bad. It's about 3/4 higher rate, but it is 2.5% lower than where he's currently at. And my answer to you was pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And I mean that sincerely.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That means that he's got $457 on the table today with a break-even point under 2 years and a prepayment penalty only for 1.
Yep.
He got a lot better in control of that mortgage and options that he has. Now, let's say I said the break-even was about 18 months.
Yep.
Let's say he pulls out 3 months early and he refinances 15 months. Well, you lost $1,500 on that bet.
Yeah.
You still saved versus monthly, right? Cash flow wise, but you did come out as a loss with whatever costs are being wrapped in. Now there is a way out of that somewhat. It's still hard money, but it's tricking the loan a little bit, I would say, is he's not going to have a payment on this for 2 months.
Yeah.
Take the rent and put it on it. Now your break-even point's under a year and you're even better. Even though that is hard cash you're putting in, I do get that, but it's kind of, you were going to have a payment if you didn't do that.
Yeah, you're right.
So there's ways to kind of, I don't want to call it manipulate the loan or how it's structured, but there is a way to offset the cost to feel better and not be out of your pocket necessarily either.
Yeah, so you win in the end, essentially.
Yeah. And now if he refinanced in 6 months, he lost.
Yeah.
But if he refinanced anytime after 12, I think he's a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Now, the option A was wait till March. And some people I know listening right now say, oh, man, I'll wait till March before I roll $8,500 in closing costs. Would you? Would you wait to save $457 a month in cash flow? Some people's car payments, for crying out loud. It's a good car. $457 a month with the risk of not knowing where rates are going. Let me throw another. Now, some people say, yeah, I would wait. Let me throw something else past you. How long has DSCR been out? The product.
Not too long.
What would you guess? Since you 2 years, 3?
2 years.
Maybe
Yeah,
3?
2, maybe 3. Maybe I wasn't familiar with it.
What if that goes away?
Yeah, that's true.
Like that just program says we're not doing those anymore.
Yeah.
What if that just went away? Now what is he going to do? Because he doesn't qualify to return that anyway.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
I'd rather pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. If there's enough money on the table and the break-even point makes sense and the prepay ties into the time frame we're looking at, man, take the deal. Take the money off the table.
I agree.
And I think that's what he'll end up doing.
That's what I said when I was talking with you, because I was the one that was like, I don't think I would do this personally. When we were in your office, I said, I don't know if I would. I'd probably just wait till March. But after talking to you, I mean, I see where you're coming from. That definitely makes more sense.
There's risk there, and it's too much. It's a lot of money. Now, would I rather have, let's say $500 a month and your costs are $5,000? Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
In this, because he's saving significantly, 457, coming off of 10.5 down to 8. That's a good baby step, is what I was referencing when we took the break.
It is.
It's not the home run, but it would be foolish to sit where you're at. And you'll say, well, why not wait till March? Because what if it's a half point higher? Your break-even point keeps changing.
And you're still cash flowing. On
Still
the
cash
property,
flowing.
Yeah.
And I would take the time that you have no payment for 2 months when you refinance the house to not go to Vegas with that savings. but to double down on the loan and wash out $5,000 of my costs.
Yeah, I agree.
And now I'm in a great position on it.
Yeah. And that I'll have to. I'm actually discussing with him after this radio show here.
We should let's call him right now. Have him on the air. Say, hey, here we talked about it. We decided. No, some people. You remember we had talked the other day where the lady was going no PMI option. Like there's options to not have PMI monthly. You remember her?
Yeah.
And she was looking at that or the buy down. And she would prefer to buy the PMI out. The numbers were so minimal comparing the buy down to the PMI. It was more, hey, break even and refundable on the temporary buy down money. That was the selling point, it being refundable. But from the sake of comfort, peace of mind, all of that came in for her as well.
Yeah, true. That did play a huge part.
That when the numbers, now this guy, peace of mind, he could wait. Yeah. But see, I just think you take the chips off the table when you got $450 coming at you a month. And I'm looking at the break even. I think that's a big part. Why is 18 months not bother me? Because you don't have a payment for 2 of them. Yeah. Right there. So now I'm down to 16. My prepay's up in 12 months. If the market's really, really good and I got to jump right out the 13th month, because I could wait 13th, 14th and see what the market's doing too. But if I had to jump right out, I'm only losing $1,500 on this whole swing I took. Yeah. And I know that I probably, and I know that I'm cash flowing anyway. Yeah. So I would rather have that risk not.
His payment is just above $3,500. So, 2 months with no payment if we close in the first
that's $7,000. Now, no, take it a step further. He's still renting it, man. Yeah. So he might have another $4,000 coming in. So now I got $15,000 that had nowhere to go. Yeah. No payment was due. And I added $8,500 on the loan. Could we not use the tenant's money to offset the cost to save $457 and not even talk about a break-even point? You betcha.
Yeah, exactly.
But people don't do that. They don't do that as often. Now he may. And I would suggest it to him in a heartbeat. That's a smart move.
I will.
At least one of the payments. Take the other one, have some fun, upgrade the house, do what you need to do. Yeah. And there are some other things to do with that money. Like if you're refinancing, thought about that, 2 months off no payment being $7,500, not on a rental, still allows you to get rid of credit card debt, get some money in the savings account, lots of things you can do.
Yeah. And he had told me he wants to have some cash out. And looking at the difference between cash out versus a rate and term, if he was to hold that money for those 2 payments that he would be making plus any tenant money, he's really working out with some cash out in his structuring.
That also might be the next step in finishing it off as a toddler. In other words, we're doing baby steps. We bought the house, took the deal, we're taking baby steps today, and maybe in the next 6 months to a year, we take it for toddler time.
Yeah, exactly.
704-412-2727. You've been listening to The Plan. Go to fortheplan.com. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.